You know the drill. The countdown, the toast, the resolutions, we all do it. But what if I told you that this entire tradition, this thing we all take for granted, isn't some natural celebration? What if it's actually a sophisticated psychological program designed thousands of years ago? Yeah, let's peel back the layers and see what's really going on. So, it all starts with one simple, kind of nagging question. Why, in the middle of winter, when everything in nature is asleep, dormant, at its coldest, why do we force this feeling of a brand new start? It just doesn't feel right, does it? Well, turns out that's not an accident. It's a clue. It's the first thread we're going to pull. You see, the date January 1st, it isn't based on anything natural. Not the seasons, not the stars, nothing. It's a totally deliberate construction, an artificial starting line placed in literally the most unnatural time of the year. And this slide really shows the split. For most of human history, people marked new beginnings when it made sense. Ancient cultures, they aligned their new year with real-world events. You had the spring equinox for the Persians or the flooding of the Nile for the Egyptians. They were following the actual rhythm of life. The Romans, though, they went a different way and chose the dead of winter. So here's how it all went down. This shift happened way back in 46 BCE. The original Roman calendar actually started in March, which makes sense, right? Spring, new life. And that's why the names of our months are all messed up. September, October, November, December. Those literally mean the 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th months. But then Julius Caesar comes along, adds 2 new months, and moves the start date. And he didn't do it for any profound natural reason. He did it for military and tax efficiency. And get this, he named that new first month January, after Janus, the god with 2 faces. Now this wasn't just some random name, it was a piece of psychological architecture. One face looks back, and that invites regret over the last year. The other face looks forward, creating this kind of false, desperate sense of hope for the next one. The whole design is meant to trap you perfectly in between, never actually present in the now. But this was about way more than just moving a single date. This whole change represented a much bigger, much more radical idea, turning time itself from a natural flow into an artificial cage. The entire concept of linear, mechanical time was basically weaponized. Think about it like this. Indigenous cultures all over the world lived by cyclical time, the idea that seasons always return, that life moves in circles, and that nothing is ever truly lost. It's a rhythm. But the Roman invention of linear time, that's a ruler. It creates constant pressure. It's always whispering in your ear that you're running out, that you're falling behind schedule. And that creates this baseline of scarcity and anxiety in all of us. So when European powers started colonizing the world, they brought this system with them, the Gregorian calendar, which is just an evolution of Caesar's system. They didn't just take land, they literally stole time. They forced entire civilizations to just abandon their own natural rhythms and plug into this artificial, centrally controlled grid. And the result? We now live completely severed from nature's clock. It's true. We wake up to alarms, not the sun. We eat by a schedule, not because we're hungry. That's not managing your time. It's a form of worship, giving a man-made system total authority over our bodies and our lives. You know, the ancient Greeks actually had 2 different words for time. Chronos is the one we know. It's the ticking clock, mechanical, relentless, 1 second after another. But they also had kairos, and kairos is totally different. It's the opportune moment, the natural, perfect time to act. Our society is completely obsessed with Chronos, and we've almost forgotten that Kairos even exists. Okay, so now that we get the system, let's deconstruct the New Year's Eve ritual itself. Because it turns out, every single element, from the countdown to the kiss, has a hidden meaning. Let's break down these rituals we just do without thinking. Okay, the countdown. It feels like a launch into a new beginning, right? Well, symbolically, it's a chant backwards to 0. To nothingness. The champagne toast, that's a modern echo of an ancient offering to spirits, and it's done at midnight, when the veil between worlds is said to be at its thinnest. The kiss, that's symbolically sealing your consent, your agreement to participate in this whole new cycle. And Auld Lang Syne, it's not a happy song, guys. It's a deeply melancholy funeral song about loss and times gone by, not a celebration of renewal. So for 24 hours straight, a wave of synchronized human consciousness just rolls across the planet. Millions and millions of minds, all focused on the same ritual, broadcasting the same underlying frequency, one that's fueled by resolutions. My current self is not good enough. And that brings us to the psychological aftermath. what I like to call the resolution trap. This is the part of the program that's designed to ensure a totally predictable cycle of failure, which in turn harvests our emotional energy. So get this. According to research, a staggering 92% of New Year's resolutions fail. 92%. Now, that's not because 92% of us lack willpower. No way. It's because the system itself is designed for us to fail. It's a feature, not a bug. And that failure fuels this really predictable cycle. First, in January, comes this huge surge of hope. But by February, most have already failed, and that leads to personal disappointment. Fast forward to December, and that feeling curdles into guilt, which makes you desperate for redemption, which, conveniently, the ritual offers you again on December 31st. It's a perfect loop. And here's the kicker. Even the word we use hides the whole game. Resolution comes from the Latin resolutio, and it means to dissolve again. The prediction of failure is literally baked right into the language. It implies you're going to need to resolve the same issue again and again and again. And science totally backs this up. Willpower isn't some infinite character trait. It's a finite resource. It's like a battery that runs out by the end of the day. On top of that, when resolutions are motivated by shame, our brain releases cortisol, the stress hormone, and that literally messes with the part of our brain that's responsible for impulse control. So you're basically set up to fail, biologically. So, if the whole system is designed this way, how in the world do you break free? Well, this final section is all about that. It's about reclaiming your own timeline and moving from all this artificial pressure to authentic personal growth. Very first step is just a declaration of your own sovereignty. It's about recognizing that real, lasting change happens when you are internally ready for it, not when some arbitrary date on an ancient Roman calendar tells you to. You are the author, period. So instead of the big, scary, all-or-nothing resolution, maybe consider something like a continuous improvement model. Just make one tiny change per week. That's it. These little micro-habits, they compound over 52 weeks, and they can create massive transformation without all the pressure and the inevitable failure of the old way. This is really about starting to listen to your real clocks, the seasons, the moon cycles, your own body's rhythms of energy and rest. When you align with these natural flows, authentic change can actually become pretty effortless, instead of this constant, brutal fight against yourself. And really, this all leads to one final question. For years, maybe our whole lives, we've let Roman emperors and old decrees dictate the rhythm of our lives. But knowing what you know now, who do you want writing the next chapter of your story? Who is the author of your timeline?